Hello, dear viewers. It's me, and it is time once more for a story. A story from the Neckbeard Stories subreddit. I said story about 15 times there, but I'm gonna keep saying it. This is from Reddit user They Play with Spiders. Amy likes spiders. What a wake up. Dated a neckbeard for 6 years only to realize it after. Sent help. That's not me admitting, that's the name of the story. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, let's keep going. First time posting. Thank you for reading in advance. Well, thank you for posting. The cast. Myself, currently 28-year-old gender fluid non-binary individual, femme presenting. Boyfriend, SF, shitface. Also currently 28-year-old man. Bestie, 31-year-old gender fluid non-binary individual. SF might read this as he's on Reddit, but I don't care. I'm writing this down in the hopes that it'll be therapeutic or whatever. I watch a lot of Vinci and r/ on YouTube, and they, along with Bestie, helped me realize how bad this relationship was. I'm not sure who either of those individuals are, but I'm sure they're very nice. Junior year of high school, I moved schools to a charter school, which is where I met SF. He made it clear pretty quickly that he liked me, but I wasn't ready for a relationship yet. I was naive, still thought I was cis-het, and very conservative. We remained friends, however, well after high school ended. SF was tall, I thought, and had long brown hair that he never brushed. Ew. And a scraggly beard, even in high school. Ugh. Though it grew out more after we graduated. He was always unkempt, never took care of his skin, and usually wore ratty sweatpants and stained t-shirts. And not for lack of funds and options, he always had perfectly nice clothes and enough money to buy more, he just refused to wear anything else. Lovely. SF was an angry person, and part of me thought I could fix him or whatever. Like I said, I was pretty naive. As the years dragged on, we became pretty close. He invited me into his D&D group, where I found my love of gaming. Still going strong now, PC games, tabletop, card builders, and whatever, so I guess some good things came out of this. I finally decided to say yes to him before I left for college. This was the biggest mistake of my fucking life. Our relationship started out relatively normal. We were long distance for about a year, and I visited home several times. This is where I got my first red flag. That I, like a colorblind moron, did not fucking see. We spent a lot of time in his bedroom playing video games when I came back to visit from college, and his room was disgusting. Pretty sure he never vacuumed. There was dirty laundry and trash everywhere. I couldn't see the carpet, and I'm pretty sure I didn't want to. His bed was never made, and the room itself was dark and dingy. And the terrarium I'd made him as a gift was fucking dead. I'd given it to him over the holidays, and he shoved it in the corner of his room where he never even opened the window for light. Doubt if he watered it. It was really pretty. A glass bowl with succulents and moss and little wooden hearts that I painted with our names on. He was never very considerate about gifts. He sounds classy. After my first year of college, we moved in together. Second biggest mistake of my fucking life. I was a full-time student. He was working 2 jobs. However, I did most of the house chores, vacuuming, mopping, cooking, shopping, everything. He had 2 jobs, take out the trash, clean the kitchen. He rarely took out the trash unless it was utterly overflowing, and his idea of cleaning the kitchen was doing the dishes once I had nothing left to clean with. I struggled with my homework and projects and keeping the place together. I also suffer from depression, so that didn't help. I feel that. But I felt bad for him, because he'd come home from his jobs and say he was just so exhausted. So he'd sit and play video games the whole night. He'd also play video games on his days off, often not moving from his computer desk unless it was to eat or to use the restroom. Or pace. He fucking paced all the time, up and down the one tiny hallway of our tiny, dark, one-bedroom apartment. I threw a lot of fits in the year and a half we lived together, because I was used to living in a clean environment, and the hoarder's nest of trash and dishes was overwhelming, and I had too much to do to keep it up myself. So, every time I'd have a freak out, he would tell me that I was overreacting, and that wasn't that bad, and that I just needed to calm down. Or he'd say that he would do better, but it was asking so much of him. He was already so very tired from working and staying up till the crack of dawn playing his video games. But that he would use up the last of his strength to do this, just for me, he never did. The first winter at our apartment, my depression took a turn for the worst. My hormones were slowly killing me. It was then that we figured out I was pregnant. I had been on birth control, but wasn't actually good at taking the pills consistently, and he refused to wear condoms because they dub it too much. Oh, what a bitch. Allowing this was the third biggest mistake of my fucking life. We went through the process, and I got in. I don't think I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but I think you can imagine what it is. Though before that, he tried to get me to induce a miscarriage by various unpleasant means to save money, of course. Wow. What an asshole. Not that doing this could be harmful to me or anything. It could have been very harmful. In the end, he paid for the, which ended up being more expensive than it had to be because the cutoff point for the lesser operation came and went while he was trying to get me to induce a miscarriage. Well, I graduated from college and we moved back home. That college town was very expensive. I didn't want to move back home, though. I wanted to move to the city where Bestie, who I met at college and is my platonic soulmate, we're still thick as thieves to this day, and I would never have gotten through this bullshit without them, lived so we could start our dream career together. However, he whined and moaned about how expensive it would be, and we ended up moving back to our hometown, which is a lot cheaper, but had no job prospects for my degree. It was closer to family, so we got to participate in more things, but he always made such a huge deal out of spending time with my family that it really took the fun out of it. He hated my parents and consistently said borderline violent things about my family members. Wow. Which I really didn't like. Understandable. And told him so. He apologized, but of course he didn't stop. He even made awful comments about my nephew, who I love dearly, and is a literal child. I reiterate my earlier point. What a fucking asshole. As time wore on, he managed to get a good full-time desk job, and I got a part-time gig that was rather intensive. He was making way more money than I was, so I had been paying less in rent and bills. However, he was always so stressed about money, even though he spent hundreds of dollars on deck-building games constantly. So I offered to pay more, to the point where I really couldn't save any money. At this point, I asked that, since I was paying the same amount as him now, he could also do half the house chores. He agreed, but never really followed through. He never vacuumed, only took the trash out when it was overflowing. His bathroom, we got in a 2-bathroom apartment, was always disgusting, covered in hair and piss and even blood. Just because he had those nasty nosebleeds that would spray everywhere, and then he wouldn't clean it up. Ew. He never put away his laundry, hardly even did laundry, and constantly left his boat-sized shoes in the middle of the floor for me to trip over in the middle of the night. Happened constantly. He also regularly stepped on my cat's toys and broke them, but never bothered to replace any of them. During this time, he grew more and more distant. I tried to get into Magic the Gathering so I could play with him, but he always built super overpowered decks where I could only afford precons, and I would sit through these games unable to do anything. Then after, he'd talk about how bad he was at the game. I know this feels petty, but it was kind of frustrating. We also played a lot of video games together. Well, not really. I would try to play with him, but he wouldn't really let me do anything. In Terraria, he'd run off and kill bosses without me. In Dark Souls 3, he wouldn't let me fight invaders. In World of Warcraft, he'd constantly make us new characters, even though I liked my old one, and would make me grind for hours so we could do all the guild stuff. We never did the guild stuff. In Divinity Original Sin 2, we also constantly restarted. I never got to see past the first area. In Pokemon, he would belittle my choices, and then refuse to help when I wanted to trade Pokemon so they'd evolve. I never got my Gengar. What the fuck, dude? I'm an artist and a writer, and I often asked his opinions. The best I usually got was, "It's okay." He thought of himself as a writer as well, so I often wanted him to help edit my work. He never gave any real constructive criticism. He once told me, "It's good for what it is, but it's really simple, it's not complicated enough," about a romance novel I was trying to write. It was apparently too predictable, because he could immediately tell who the characters were and what they were going to do in the book. The constant indifference was pretty discouraging, and today I have a lot of issues with getting work. when before this relationship I was drawing and writing constantly. He would cycle between being really sweet and warm, cold and indifferent without any warning. He would ignore me for days, even weeks, to play video games. He constantly complained about how he never got any alone time and how his desk job was just so exhausting and he had so much to worry about. He also had this weird habit of talking about me cheating on him, saying what he'd do if I did. I never did, never even considered it. He would also get really upset anytime I asked if we could do something together. I love picnics, and we never went out on a single one. We hardly ever went on real dates. Once we went for a walk together to go to our local Denny's and play Pokemon Go. He got mad because I needed to go to the bathroom, so I asked if we could hurry to the restaurant, and it was dark, so I didn't want to go by myself. But he was too busy trying to catch Pokemon and told me to go by myself. When I made him go with me, he complained that he didn't get to do the only thing he cared about on this date. Wow. What a fucking douche. Which of course made me cry, because the whole point of us going on a date was for us to spend time with each other. Yeah, really. Fucking asshole. He also never called me pretty or cute because he felt like he shouldn't have to have an opinion of my appearance. What the fuck is wrong with this man? Unless it was to call my clothes ugly. Oh, of course. Once I wore a very bright pink dress that I absolutely adored, and he said I looked like a clown. What a fucking douche, man. He cooked for me 3 whole times in our relationship of 6 years when I made dinner nearly every single night, and I nearly always bought the takeout. The first time he made beef stroganoff hamburger helper. I hate sour cream and loose ground beef. The other 2 times he made nearly inedible pasta with no sauce and something else I can't even remember, but I didn't eat it. I despise fish and seafood, but I learned how to make salmon and shrimp just for him. And the day we broke up, he couldn't even be bothered to get my Subway order correct when he'd occasionally get it for us. He would also eat my food, even when he had his own food, without asking. At restaurants, he would eat off my plate before eating off of his. I often had to hide things if I didn't want to share, because he would eat all of it, whatever it was, even if he didn't like it. He didn't care for Girl Scout cookies, which are my favorite, and he still ate half the box in 5 minutes. What the fuck is wrong with this dude? I could go on and on about the things he did, but in the end, I woke up and realized that he was a lazy, entitled, selfish person. Yeah. We ended up moving out back to our parents' houses because he wanted to save up and buy a house. He specifically said it would be his house, not our house, and that I would be his tenant, even though I'd talked for years about buying a house so we could later rent it out. He moved out before me, taking all of his things and leaving me in the apartment alone, while it was falling apart. I had to do all the packing and cleaning myself. During this time, I got very sick, and he didn't even text or call to check on me. My father came over twice a day to bring me soup and 7-Up. Best sicky food drink combo. 7-Up really is the best. My mom and sister helped me clean and pack, but my whole family helped me move. He did nothing. At the very end, I broke down and told him how manipulative and horrible he'd been. But I felt like if he'd gotten help and therapy, he could possibly be better. I still loved him, even to the end. But then he told me that I was the one who was abusive. That I'd been keeping him in a financially abusive relationship because he felt like I was dependent on him. I always had a place to go with my parents. He just had a really big martyr complex. I now realize that he was the one who was abusive financially, emotionally, mentally, and once he realized that I realized it, dumped me because he knew that I wouldn't stand for his shit anymore, and he didn't want to change. Good riddance. I'm slowly getting my confidence back. I've landed a second job, and I'm saving up to finally move away to live near my best friend. We're going to start a business together someday. SF made me feel like I was stupid, lazy, and pathetic. I am none of those things. He just kept me in a constant state of extreme depression and anxiety. I had to walk on eggshells around him. I felt like I was unwelcome in my own home. I felt like he might harm me or my family or my cat. I felt like he was going to trap me away from my dreams, but I got out. Breaking up with me was the best thing he ever did for me. SF, if you read this, fuck you. I hope I never see you again. And while I hope you get the help you need, I hope no other person falls into your trap. You are selfish and self-serving, and you took 6 years of my life and so much of my energy and spirit. I can't get that time back, but I can get the rest. P.S. Bessie hated SF from the moment they met him, but because I was so in love with him, they felt like they couldn't say anything. My family felt the same way. Everyone's happy it ended. PPS, also got back into Magic the Gathering, and got my nephew into it as well. We'll be going on our first game forum this weekend at the local game shop. Awesome. PPPS, thank you to Vinci and r/, and the other people who makes content that highlights stuff like this. It really helps people like me realize this sort of behavior is not normal. TLDR, dated a manipulative, abusive neckbeard for 6 years without realizing it, while my family and best friend watched on helplessly. Got out, survived, will continue to thrive. Living in a clean house now. Thank you for reading. First off, I just want to go ahead and say that if you hear this at any point in time, they play with spiders. I am super, super glad you got out of such a horrible, horrible situation. I definitely know that feeling. I've had some really, really awful relationships myself, and I'm going to be honest with you. It takes a toll on you. It fucks with you. You deal with all these issues that just stick with you for years, but you can overcome that. You can be better than that, and you absolutely can thrive. And personally, I've never met you, but I can tell you that I personally think that you are absolutely doing wonderful. You are a wonderful person. You can achieve that dream. And when you do open this business, whatever this business is, if you hear this, drop me a link or send me something. I'll want to check it out. That sounds amazing. Following your dreams is one of the most important things I can encourage any of you to do. And I realize it's hard. And anybody who tries to take you away from that or make you feel like you're not good enough to do those things, it's pretty fucked up. You are. You're absolutely good enough to do those things. You are wonderful, you are loved, you are treasured, and no one can ever take that away from you. Now let's talk about SF. Oh my goodness, SF. And not just so furry. Anyway, SF. This manipulative little piece of shit. This is a martyr-victim complex, whatever the hell you want to call it, personified. This guy doesn't really want a relationship. He wants a second mother. He wants someone to take care of him, do all the things for him. Doesn't matter that he's working. He just wants someone to do shit for him. He wants to be waited on, and he wants to feel like he's the one doing all the things, like the big, important man. But honey, you're a fucking child. You're just a fucking petulant little child. Everyone has to take care of you, even though you are a grown fucking person. SF reminds me of the kind of person, and honestly, I'm probably not wrong about this, considering some of the stuff we just heard. The kind of person, like, I've known a few neckbeard guys, and of course, it's the kind of manly, I grow a beard because I'm a man kind of guy, who doesn't know how to use, like, a washing machine. It's not difficult. It's a washing machine. Just wash your clothes. Secondly, if you don't know how to do it, most of them have the instructions printed right there on the fucking lid. And third, if they don't, if you have one of those new ones where it's like, oh, it's a glass door, it's not there, you have the internet, honey. It's not difficult. It's on your fucking phone now. You don't even have to go in the room where your computer is. You can just look it up. There's absolutely no reason to not just look things up and learn things. And guys like this just won't. It's literally just because they want to be lazy little fuckwads. This guy is the fucking worst. I've heard so many stories about motherfuckers like this, and this shit is disgusting. I fucking cannot stand this man, and I've never even met him. Fuck him. Fuck him. Glad you broke up with him. And you know what? I realize you say that he's the one who broke up with you, and maybe that's true. Maybe, that is the best thing he's ever done. But because you're the one thriving, I'd say you're the one who did the good part of this. He may have said the words, but honey, you're the one who left him in the fucking dust, okay? Fuck this little motherfucker. You are 1,000 times better than anything he could ever possibly dream of being. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to, comment good things towards the OP. Send love. Send wonderful vibes out there. Do good stuff. You're all such wonderful people. You really are. It's not even like a, I'm a YouTube... No, I mean it. Really, you are. You guys really are. And you deserve to have happiness. And no one should ever try to take that from you. So, yeah. Do the YouTube thing. But seriously, comment. Send some love to the OP here. This is It's a heck of a story. And they deserve it. They do. If you would please consider checking out my Ko-Fi and my merch store. The links are in the description like everything else. But if you can't check those things out, if it's just not something you can afford right now or whatever, that's cool too. Don't worry about it. I have a Discord, which you are more than welcome to join. It is a free Discord. And you can come hang out with me and all of my interesting friends. Every Saturday, there is a live stream. And if you'd like to send me a story directly, you can send it to r/Moonhorse Stories. I will check it out, because it's my subreddit. It'd be weird if I didn't. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful whatever time of day it is. I love you all so very, very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.